everyone, welcome to my July wrap-up. I know this is late and we are well into August already, but I procrastinate too much, so here we go. I'm gonna go over the books that I read in July by date that I read them. This month I read 17 books, and so I'm still learning how to talk about books, you know, in a way that's not in a conversation, because talking to a camera is so awkward when you first start doing it. So I'll just give you my opinions, and you can ask any of your questions in the comments, and I would love to talk to you about it. Please talk to me about books, please. Woo, July was a long month. But the first book that I read was The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky by Mackenzie Lee, and that is the novella that takes place between the second and third book in that series, and I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was super cute. It's a novella, so there's like not much content to go off of. Short, sweet little nugget of goodness. So I gave it 4 stars. Next book that I read was The Revisioners by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton. This book, I gave this book 4 stars as well. The story is basically about 2 different time periods in the same like family line. So it covers, like, in my opinion, I don't know, this has got to be what it's about, right? In my opinion, it really covers ancestor work and generational trauma. And I think by telling the story of that, and by telling the story of the person in present day, we really get to see the message of, like, you will one day be an ancestor. I can't even stress enough how important it is to get through this book and see why we see both perspectives of the ancestor and the present day coming together. That moment in the book was, ooh, so good. And I haven't really seen a lot of people talking about it. It's super underrated in my opinion, so you should definitely pick it up. The next book that I read was Tears We Cannot Stop by Michael Eric Dyson. This is a sermon to white America, so I listened to it on audiobook, and I highly recommend listening to it on audiobook. There was so much in the way that this story was told and how Michael Eric Dyson speaks to the listener with such an open heart, and basically, like, the quotes from this book are just loving. I know that some people have issues with the way that things are being told them because of the guilt and the shame that you have to go through in order to, like, freaking stop being so goddamn racist. But this was such a gentle message. It was, and I mean, it's a sermon, so absolutely read it or listen to it on audio. It was beautiful and gorgeous, and you definitely should check it out. I obviously gave it 5 stars. I don't know if I said that. 5 stars. The next book that I read was Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Davis, which is another anti-racism book. And it was basically a collection of interviews and speeches that Angela Davis has done about racism in America, as well as racism and corporate prison systems in the world. A big topic was the Palestinian conflict that's going on and the activism that Angela Davis is doing there. And this book, I was just chock full of knowledge that I had no idea about. It's stuff that I am not hearing about, stuff that we are purposely not hearing about, the privatization and corporate structure of the prison system. You think you know, you think you've heard it, and then you listen to this book and it is just mind-boggling and infuriating, but it's super important. The next book that I read was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and wow. I don't think I have to say much about this book. It's a very popular book right now. It is a adult fantasy. I gave this book 5 stars as well. I thought it was incredible. I couldn't put it down. I loved that the pacing, we follow our character Rin through training and learning about her power and stuff like that. And I just felt like the parts of the book, the first part of the book is her in school, second part is thrust into war, and I feel like the switch in pacing and the switch in the way it was written was so jarring in an amazing way that I just don't think that it could have been done better. It was incredible. I also love that it in no way, shape, or form is it glorified. War is a horrible, devastating event, and I felt like that was really portrayed in the writing. And I love that Rin is not a character that Rin is set up as a character that you should be rooting for, but she's very questionable. She makes very, very questionable decisions. She has very questionable thought processes, and you don't always feel like you are backing the right character. I really love a morally gray character, turns out. There are some things that Rin does that you don't know if you should be supporting. You can sympathize while also questioning and really holding her in judgment. And I am so excited to read the second book because I do not know how we will come back from that ending in a way that we're gonna support what happened. You know, it's just, it was rough. Yeah, 5 stars. The next book that I read right after that was Foundry Side, which I ended up giving 4.5 stars, and I'm still on the fence on whether or not I'm gonna give that 5 stars. This book has an incredible magic system. I thought that it bordered right on a sci-fi feel without jumping over to a full sci-fi. It's fantasy sci-fi-ish. I really enjoyed how the writer made us just as untrusting and anxious as Sanjia about every interaction with any other character. You have to interact with characters over and over and over again, and you still aren't really sure if they're on the right side. You're not really sure if these characters should be trusting each other. I thought that that was really well done in the writing. Going into the second book, I think there are still characters that can turn on us. You just don't ever know who to trust, which I feel like is so well done and amazing and great and fun. And I can't wait for the second book. Next book I read was Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker, which is a graphic novel. It is quite short, so I don't want to go too far into it, but I thought it was beautiful and loving and about found family and young love and working together in a team, and it had magic and shape-shifting, and I just loved it, and I really recommend that you look at it, and I gave it 5 stars. You can probably guess that I will give 5 stars to memoirs or nonfiction that has, like, you know, a lot of really good research, and graphic novels because I love them. I've never read a graphic novel that I didn't like. The effort and the beauty in graphic novels is just too much to pass up. There you go. That's how I rate things. The first book that I read for the reading rush was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, which I gave 4 stars. Why did I say 3 stars? Which I gave 4 stars. I thought that the book was great. It's very short and to the point. There's not a lot of messing around, which I think really mirrors the way that the character thinks too. I don't think that the character is very like flourished. That's not how they look at their life. That's not how the book went. It was very short, to the point. This is what it's about. Thank you, bye. Which I loved. It is basically about finding what you love and doing that for you and not living based on the expectations of everybody else. It's not worth trying to change yourself and be unhappy so that other people can be comfortable with the way that you are. If you're not hurting anybody, live your life. The next book that I read was The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, which I'm not alone in my thinking that this is an incredible book. I gave it 5 stars. I will say that I thought that the writing was incredible. I think that the way that Britt Bennett does storytelling in flashback feels so natural. The best thing that I think Britt Bennett does is she presents questions and shows you scenarios and never gives you the answer. She did this in The Mothers too, which was incredible, highly recommend. But she gives you a scenario and you get to decide if it's right or wrong. It wasn't presented like, oh, this person did this and their life sucks, and this person did this and their life is amazing, so obviously this is the right decision, because that's not how it's presented, because that's not how life works. It literally was just, here's what happened, here's the different circumstances that they went through, and this is just real life. How do you feel? And you're just left going, wow, I think my brain got bigger because of that. And just, it was incredible. Highly recommend. Please pick it up. I know most of these books, I'm just like, go get it. Highly recommend. The next book that I read was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I gave this book 4 stars. This one surprised me. I did not expect to like it so much. It is a contemporary romance, which I don't usually read. I couldn't help but smile the whole time. I also thought that Casey McQuiston had incredible dialogue. There are so often that people try to write young people's words and it just is like, I don't know why you're trying. Do you think we're all stupid? Like, do you think all these children are dumb? Like, I don't know why you're writing like that. And I don't think that Casey McQuiston did that at all. Her dialogue was funny and adorable, and I really enjoyed the hate to love trope that happened in this. So there was that. And yeah, I did really enjoy it, surprisingly. But I don't think I'm alone in that opinion either. A lot of people really like that book. So the next book that I read was The Price of Salt, also known as Carol. That's the title. The Price of Salt, or Carol, not also known as. By Patricia Highsmith. And I went into this book not thinking that I was going to like it that much. It was recommended to me by my roommate, and he really loves the film. He read the book, really liked the book, and I just like wasn't sure that I was going to like it. I was totally wrong. I gave this book 4 stars as well. This book follows Therese, who ends up meeting this woman, Carol. They fall in love. I really, really enjoyed what the writer did with how the book was structured. I feel like the first part of the book, we were just slogging around because Therese as a character felt the same way. She just like didn't really care. She was just going through the motions of life. And that's kind of felt like what the writing was doing. Like, we're just kind of getting to the next spot. And then we meet the character Carol, and all of a sudden, like, new language is introduced. It moves in a different pace. I feel like we were really following Therese's spark of passion. I really, really, really enjoyed when Therese was left alone. We then saw so much growth. Like, the character had to go through so much growth without the assistance of another person, and I thought that was really amazing. I just thought that it was like such an amazing story that was really like pushed into this like character study of this woman who really matures. It was like coming of age. This woman just like became her own, realized her own power, realized what she wanted in life, had to make those decisions, and made that shit happen. And I thought it was incredible. The next book that I read was All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a memoir for a young adult audience. I thought that it was such an important piece. It's exactly the type of book that kids need to read about. I loved reading the author's note that he talked about like what he felt like was difficult about writing. It was difficult about writing for a younger audience. Like, what do you share? What's appropriate to let them know? In reading it, I really liked that he would talk about the process of writing the story and tell you the story. So it was like what emotions are still attached to these incidents in his life. He had an incredible chapter in there about his grandmother that I just loved. It was so beautiful, and it just like illustrated such a powerful piece of his life. I thought it was incredible. I get to a point and then I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought, and now I expect you to talk back to me, but you are a camera. Cool. Okay, the next book that I finished was Deacon King Kong. I ended up reading this for Show Me in the Book Club, and it took me a little bit to figure this book out. James McBride writes about the projects in New York, and this one character, Sport Coat, shoots the prominent drug dealer in the city, in his like village. So James McBride, after Sport Coat shoots this drug dealer, he shows the ripples that happen throughout. So the projects in this book represent this village of people. Everybody knows each other, everybody's connected with each other, and this incident sends a ripple through the whole neighborhood, and there are repercussions all over the place. It was coming back and forth between different points of view, so we got like an inside view, and then we zoom out and see everything, and like it just felt like it had to show you everybody's consequence that occurred because of one person's actions. And it really felt like everybody in the book had to come to a point where it was like, you are dealt certain things because of the circumstances of your life. And if you get to a point in your life sometime when those circumstances can change, or you can do something to choose something differently, go ahead, go for it, go do it. There's never a point in your life where it's too late. And I think that was echoed throughout this book in a lot of different characters. So I really feel like there's a theme within it's a universal theme that happens in everybody's life that can be echoed over and over and over again within different people, within the same neighborhood, within different avenues of the world. Like, it was good. I really enjoyed it. I don't think I would have ever picked it up. And then Shelby in the Book Club comes along. And she's like, I suggest this book. I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to read it. And then, wow. What an incredible find. Loved it. James McBride is great. I've never read anything by him, and I will definitely pick something else up by him, because it took me a minute, and I think that's why I like it even better. Hi, evening. You want to mess with my plant? Is that why you're messing with me? Okay, leave my stuff alone. You gotta be nice when you're sitting up there. So the next books that I read were Tea Dragon Society and Tea Dragon Festival, and I cannot stress enough how beautiful and perfect and amazing and adorable I thought these books were. They're so short. Don't eat my plant. They're so short and yet so perfect. They have just like this perfect little moral. The first book, Tea Dragon Society, I felt like really talked about passing down tradition and craft, and how those things can be lost through generations, and how to keep those things going, which is just, I personally resonate with that story so much. And the next one, Tea Dragon Festival, Oh my gosh, so sweet. I loved this one. It was, it really focuses on the story of like really finding what you love to do and doing that. Like the thing that you love is your calling. It was so sweet. And I just like recommend that everybody, literally ran around my house telling everybody to read it. I was like, it's on the iPad right now. Everybody just read this book. It's so cute. Hey, you're back? Isn't that boring? I know. Sorry. The next book I read was Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Garcia Moreno. And I really loved the atmosphere in this book. And I know that that's like the number one thing that people are talking about. But I also feel like this book was so... The imagery in this book was incredible. The cover of this book is really beautiful, but I feel like because the imagery in this book is so amazing, you could have literally used so many different images to use on this cover or to tell this, oh my gosh, it was so good and gross and disgusting. And I definitely want to reread it in October because it really puts you in that vibe. I know I saw a lot of reviews and stuff talking about how they thought that like some people were like, oh my gosh, the dresses in this book, or oh my gosh, the dresses in this book, and why are we describing these things? And I never for a second thought that it was too much. I don't even know if I feel like maybe it wasn't even enough. They barely even mention what she's wearing, but I do think it's important to know what she is wearing because it's so... Oh my God, what is the word? It's so, the imagery is the only thing I can think of right now, but the imagery of the story is so palpable that you have to be able to picture her walking down the stairs. You have to be able to picture what the kitchen looks like, or like how she, like, it just pictures, when you can see it, you can feel it kind of thing. It was so gross. And this is a book that I'm like, I'm not telling you anything about it. Not that I'm very good at telling you anything about any of the other books, but this one I don't want to tell you anything about it because you should definitely go in and be surprised because it's gross. And I don't want to, that's the only thing I'm going to tell you. Just so you're prepared for the nasty. Because it was great. And even reading it, I was like, oh wow, oh, I don't know. Because you're in it, so you're just like, am I enjoying this? Is this something I want to be reading? And then you get to the end of it and you're like, it's good stuff. I gave it 4 stars, I believe. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It was really good and I definitely plan on rereading it. So if that's that recommendation, I can't speak, for you to read it, I don't know what it is. And the last book that I read this month is the only book that I did not enjoy, and it was I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian, spelled a little differently, Reed. Ian or Ian Reed, I don't know. I read this book because so many people said it was so creepy and scary, and I was so disappointed. I did not enjoy this book at all. There were so many moments where I get, I don't even know how to talk about it because I get why people were like, oh my gosh, it's so creepy, because you feel like you should be scared and you don't know why. And that's what's creepy about it. But when we got to the end, I just felt like it was such a mediocre idea. I did not enjoy the ending. I hardly enjoyed the story at all because the whole time I feel like I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we talking about this? Why do I care? Why is she still talking about the same thing? And this book is so short. And I was still like, have we spent 50 pages talking about the same thing? I did not enjoy it. I gave it 2 stars. And I was so surprised that I just hated it so much and everybody else loved it. It was such a weird experience. But anyway, that was the last book I read. That was the only book that I did not like in the month. Clearly, everything else got 4 or 5 stars. I had an incredible reading month. Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed my too long of a July wrap up. I talk too much because I don't know what I'm saying, but I'll get better, and I'll see you in the next video. Well, you'll see me in the next video. I'll watch your videos too. Okay, bye guys. I don't know what I'm talking about. Peace out.